Hello and welcome to the Perma GM. My name's David. Today I'm going to show you how to use what's sometimes known as zone combat for fantasy flight games, Star Wars RPG, as well as the Genesys role-playing system. Now, the Star Wars FFG and Genesys system um, does tend to focus on the narrative and theater of the mind style of combats. For myself and my groups, I tend to prefer having a lot of excellent visual cues, and I find that this not only helps combat run smoother, but it's also much more enjoyable for everyone involved. No longer do I have people asking, well, what range is this enemy? What range is that enemy? Now, if you can track everything and you can keep track of different minion groups of different minion strength at different ranges from different PCs, more power to you. However, for those of us who are more visually inclined, um, using this method is an excellent way. In another video, I showed a very simplistic method of using this, and it wasn't until after actually listening to the Foundry um, podcast by GM Hooley and Chris that I discovered that I wasn't the only one doing things like this. And in fact, they had developed a better system, in my opinion. Um, and so I've kind of married the two ideas together. And so I'm going to show you here how you can use zone combat specifically for Roll20, though you can use the exact same concept with paper maps if you are playing in person with miniatures, which I tend to do both. So first off, you'll see a bunch of different squares or zones here, and you'll notice I have this combat cheat sheet I made up. Now, um, you might want to think of these zones almost like range bands. In my other video, that's how they were basically utilized. However, take for instance this Deveronian mercenary. If there's a stormtrooper here, right, you can see from the cheat sheet there that he is, what, 1, 2, 3 away, 3 zones away. So he would be at long range, okay? Now, if this Deveronian and the stormtrooper were in the same zone, right? Each one of these boxes here are zones. If they're in the same zone, then they're considered at short range, okay? And so shooting at them would be just 1 purple, right? Now, if this Deveronian wanted to engage the stormtroopers, just like the regular rules, they spend a maneuver to get engaged. Now, to represent that, right, I typically put them touching. If I'm using physical miniatures, I'll put them, of course, base to base. So the exact same concept works, right, for movement. So if this Deveronian wanted to move into this zone, right, they spin a maneuver, move into this zone. Okay, now they're 1 zone away, so this would be medium range from each other. Now, if he wanted to move another one away, right, he's going to be 2 zones away, so he's at the far end of medium range. 1 more zone away, and he's now at long range, okay? And so this helps to give you some visual representation of where things are. Now, I do not recommend using blocks like this in a line, okay? This is just to show you kind of how the range distances go. I'm going to show you how you can use this on a map that you have maybe uploaded, etc. Now, for strategic range, anything that's 8 zones away or more is at the strategic range according to the Genesys rule set. However, I think it's a pretty much a smart way to handle things because people have a extreme range weapon and they have like true aim or sniper shot or one of those cool talents that lets them extend the range further. I mean, it's just kind of, you have to use common sense and say your rifle cannot shoot planetary ranges. I'm sorry. You know, because at that point you may not be able to see them, etc. So if you're going to use this in combat or Roll20, don't be daunted, okay? You may think, what does this mean? How am I going to do this? So if you open up a new page, you just open up a new page, you're going to have a map that you found. Maybe go to Pinterest, our battle maps on Reddit, various places you can find maps specifically for sci-fi. Of course, there's tons for fantasy. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you go to the map and background layer, find your map, and I'm going to use this Rebel Fortress here. I'm going to paste it in. And then I'm going to drag it out. Now, I like to make the backgrounds black in order to make it more, if it kind of has some overhang, it doesn't jump out too much. Now you have a grid here. It doesn't need a grid um, unless you like it to just be kind of snappy like that. I typically remove the grid. Some of these maps, you can see here this map actually has a grid already on it. It's for Star Wars miniatures battles. But it doesn't matter. You can use one with a grid or one that doesn't have a grid for this zone method. Now, what you can do is you essentially create zones yourself. Now, you can use logic, and kind of simple thinking will allow you to find out, okay, well, where do I put a zone? Okay, this place looks like a natural area to make a zone. Remember, the zones are very much, there's no rules constructing a zone. So for instance, this little hangar area here, I am actually going to make a zone. So this will be a zone. I'm going to say that this hallway is going to be a zone. Now I like to use dots a lot of the times to represent it so it doesn't look like a bunch of lines everywhere. And I'm going to make this a zone. And this is going to be a zone. This medical area will be a zone. Now I'm not going to do the entire map because you'll pretty much figure out what zones, how you would want to maybe design zones here. And I'm going to make this one a kind of a larger zone here, like a transitional zone, just like you might do the same for this one right here. Okay, well, I kind of lied and did most of the map, but anyway, you'll see here that I've got a number of zones now, and the same exact principles apply. So if I select my enemies and we'll use this Deverani Merc, you can see that, for instance, again, this Deverani Merc, alright, if he was going to try to take a shot at this Stormtrooper here, he is in this one zone, right? And this would be another zone, and this would be a third zone, right? So if you look at that cheat sheet, which I will try to leave a comment in the description below, link to it, right? So he's going to be 2 zones away, I believe. So 2 zones away, right? So that means he's at medium range, so the check would be 2 purples. Now, if this guy was, in this zone here, it would be short range. If he was over here, it would be long range. Don't want to move the map. And say you've got some minions who are gonna emerge from over here, right? They'd spend a maneuver, go to this zone, and then they could spend another maneuver to get closer to our intrepid hero. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily think that the narrative dice will allow you to use the full functionality of that system with, oh, I'm going to spend my advantage to do this or that. I actually think having maps can also help you in this regard. So, say for instance, um, the Deveronian and this mercenary, these thugs are in this group, and the Deveronian rolls a triumph, right? Um, and the GM can then see what's around him and say, okay, you're able to actually cause one of these speeder bikes to explode, or you're able to get this speeder to just rush forward and to destroy this minion, or cause him to have all kinds of major problems. If you're in the medical bay, right, and you might say, um, with your triumph or your 3 advantage, you manage to see quickly that there are a couple of extra stim packs laying around in this area. Or, oh, you're at the command center, and you're able to um, knock out some of the cords and wires, and they start to spark and fly, and they are going to make this guy's job a lot harder to see you in this environment. So you shouldn't let um, the idea of a map actually limit what you want to do, right? If he wants to take the cover as a maneuver, right, he can take it. That's no problem, right? Even if he's in this hallway, right, is maybe he's hiding behind a corner, right? It doesn't matter where he is physically here. He can still do that maneuver, right? Now, unless the GM says otherwise, like, hey, this is like a kill zone and you can't take cover here, right? Then, okay, well, he's going to be out of luck, but whatever. So using this method helps to really help you kind of gauge what where people are, what methods um, to move around makes it easier. Again, you can. I like to give my players this as a handout, and then they can see, okay, he's one zone away, so that's medium range, you know. And of course, you can use this also to help delineate who can see who or not, right? Now, I'm pretty lenient when it comes to point of line of sight and things like that, but if you want to, have it make a little bit more sense, right? This Deveronian dude just literally cannot see this stormtrooper because there's a command center and there's the med bay in the way, right? So in a kind of more intimate map like this, it would definitely um, be a bit more close quarters.
Mic off.
Now, for more open environments, right, line of sight may not be as much of an issue. Here I've gotten a map from After Dawn Maps, shout out. Um, and I like to use this weird blue because it stands out really easily and it's not usually going to get in the mix of anything, but it's not too like crazy on the eyes, at least to me. And you can see here I've got a whole bunch of different zones. So again, you can use that same method of combat to represent the different zones, right? The maneuvers needed. Um, and so if he's trying to move, right? He could do 2 maneuvers. That will move him right from short to medium range. And this method just works exceptionally well. And I think that it is just really a lot easier for your player characters as well, because they can say to themselves, okay, well, these guys are medium range because they're 1 zone away. Okay, these guys are also medium range because they're between the 1 and 2 zone, right? And then for here, right, it's 1, 2, 3, so that's going to be long range for these Tusken Raiders. And so it just makes it easier for everyone um, without breaking it down into, oh, I'm going to, move 5 feet, etc. Right? Everything could still be accomplished that you would normally with Theater of the Mind. If he's, in here, he's going to take cover, right? He's hiding behind some shrubs, he's hiding behind rocks, wherever on the map. And this helps you as a GM to describe the combat a lot more efficiently, right? Okay, the Tusken Raiders suddenly jump out behind some rocks and begin to fire away with their slug thrower rifles. And so you can use these ways to move around. You can see here, of course, I've got the minions designated different colors so that the PCs are aware of the different minion groups. Again, another excellent use of visualizations in combat. If you have more questions or you want me to make something in particular, just make a comment, send me a message. I'd be glad to help. I hope this helped. Thank you.